Our Chapter 23 rules, also known as LQH or liquidation harvesting. And this disclaimer is on here. It should have been on the other one too. Obviously, we are doing a really pared down, modified approach today, and we cannot cover everything. So make sure you read the rules to find all the answers. So the purpose of this rule is really to substantially eliminate the practice of liquidation harvesting. And what liquidation harvesting is has been actually defined by the legislature, and it is the purchase of timberland followed by harvest that removes most or all of the commercial value in standing timber without regard for long-term forest management principles, and then the subsequent sale or attempted resale of the harvested land within 5 years, which can also be said is buy, cut, and sell. So if one of the rangers or one of the district foresters is out there and we're looking at this and we're saying, wow, you know, that's a kind of a pretty thin stand there, and we notice that we've got lots for sale, that's a red flag to us to at least check and see, has that landowner owned that land for more than 5 years, or are they following all the other rules? So there's two groups of alternatives to this buy, set, cut, sell, and actually comply. There are 12 exemptions that are available. Most of them wouldn't apply to people, or you can utilize one of the 4 harvest options that we have. So here are some of the common exemptions that we have that you might come apart. Remember, I said there are 12. Here are 7 of them that are pretty easy to comply with. One of them is you've already held the land for at least 5 years. So, or you're going to hold the land for 5 years. As long as you hold that land for 5 years, there's no liquidation harvesting problem. If the land itself is third-party certified through something like SFI or FSC, then those are not considered to be liquidation harvesting. If the harvest area is 1,000 acres or less, and it's done by a certified master logger who is current in their CLP certification, they can do this. They do have to have what is called a liquidation plan written, and we can ask for that, and they need to produce that immediately as well. If the landowner owns less than 100 acres of forested land statewide, a little different than the FPA, which was any land, then they're exempt. If they're changing land use, which we talked about in the last section, if they're going from a forest plan to a non-forest use, if the parcel itself is less than 20 acres, then that's exempt. So if you buy an 18-acre parcel and you cut it today, cut it really hard and sell it tomorrow, it's exempt from the LQH rules. And then there are certain transfers of ownership, inheritance, court order, things like that, that might be ordered by the court that would exempt you from it as well. So here's the easiest one. Be careful about what you remove. We don't want to take too much basal area out of there. Option 2 is accredited timber harvesters and foresters. That's really not a viable option because those don't exist in the state of Maine. As I said, the option 3, the timber harvest plan that's developed prior to the timber harvest. And if you think it's difficult writing an FPA plan, then writing an LQH plan just adds several more layers on top of it. It's very, very in-depth and intense. And then option 4 is unforeseen economic hardship. And people try to use this. Doesn't happen very often. So I'm going to go quickly over the different options. Timber harvesting must not remove more than 50% of the basal area of trees 4.5 dBH and larger present on the entire parcel at the time of purchase. You can't high grade the property, cut the best, leave the rest, and you've got to protect the advanced regeneration by minimizing damage. So I've actually seen some that I look at the harvest and I think, well, you know, that actually looks pretty good. But you go out there and you start looking at it and they cut all of the 20-inch trees and they left behind all the 5-inch trees. So there's plenty of timber there to keep it out of an FPA issue, but it still could be a problem as far as basal area removal and LQH if they're trying to sell that property. As I said, the option 2 is a viable alternative. We don't have any of those accredited loggers or foresters here. If you want to do a timber harvest plan before the harvest, it does have to be prepared by a licensed Maine forester. So Joe Logger can't go out there and write his own plan. He's got to have a Maine licensed forester do it. It has to contain all of the required elements listed in Chapter 23. And as I said, there's a lot more of them than there are in the Chapter 20 rules. And then afterwards, there has to be a forester attestation that the plan was followed. And that has to be submitted within 60 days, written within 60 days of the harvest completion, saying that they have followed everything in that harvest plan. And then the landowner has to keep that on file for 7 years so that if we ask for it, they have to be able to produce it for us. Sometimes we get asked who's responsible if something like this happens. And the answer is all the parties can be held responsible. So the landowner's responsible, the forester, if there's one involved, designated agent, and the logger can all be held financially responsible for creating this kind of timber harvest. And for penalties in this case, the law allows the Maine Forest Service to impose penalties that remove the financial gain. So that means we can take all of the money that you earned by harvesting the trees. We can take all the money that you earned by selling the land. They can be very, very substantial. So you want to be careful that you're not inadvertently getting into this position. And like I said, the easiest way is to hold the land for at least 5 years. The second easiest way is to not overharvest and high grade it. So that is the end of my presentation. If you've got questions, call your local district forester. This link up here will take you right to a list of the district foresters with all of their contact information. You can type in the town that you're working in or that you own the land in, and your district forester's name is going to pop right up, and you can click it, and then you'll have their phone number and where they are. If you look on the back of a Rules of Maine book, they're a little bit dated. We haven't updated them since we've hired a few new people, but that also shows where their districts are in a graphic way and can help you get to it. So this is what, if you go to that district forester link up there, you can either click on this staff map and it's going to show you a map of the area, or you can type right in here, the town, and it's going to tell you over here who the district forester is.